Okay, just a minute. Let me share my screen. All right, folks. So let's discuss the next primitive that we'll use for synchronization. Okay, it's called condition variables, not conditional, it's condition variable. Okay, now all the contents for this lecture is taken from OSTEP book. Okay, you can download this chapter and do it, read it, and also there are a lot of programs given in the chapter, right? You can download the program from their website. Okay, and then you can run those if you want. Okay, all right. Okay, in the previous class we studied about IPC mechanisms and some synchronization mechanisms, right? So we have studied message passing, we have studied shared memory mechanisms for message passing, and then for synchronization we started looking at locks. Okay, and so basically here we are in synchronization. We have completed discussion on simple lock, which is mutex. Okay, and then we are looking at conditional variable today. File locks you can read if you want. Okay, and at the end we will study semaphore. Okay, the next class will finish this discussion on synchronization part. Okay, by now you understand why I need to synchronize, because we have taken up more than 3 examples, rather 4 examples, just to emphasize the need for synchronization when threads are used, or parallelism is or concurrent execution of processes is required. Okay, so this is where we are. We have studied locks. Now we are going to study conditional variables. In the next class, we'll study semaphores. And in the last class, we have looked at how these higher level primitives are designed using some hardware level instruction like test and set, compare and swap. Okay. So today we'll look at higher level, what do you call that? Higher level, what do you call the call or functionality given, right? Like lock. Okay, and then see how can we implement synchronization with that primitive. Okay. All right, so last class we have studied this to test and set and compare and swap. Okay, all right, so today we'll study these things. We'll study how in general we can implement wait. Then rest of the lecture will be on condition variable. Okay, when we say wait implementation, what do we mean by that? Okay, a process or a thread is in execution, and then it has to wait for some other thread to complete this task, and then it will get result from that thread or something from that thread. And then when this thread, second thread, say T2 completes, then this thread can continue execution. Okay, it's like join we have studied, right? The question is that how do we implement this? Okay, and also a little bit about locks. Locks are meant for mutual exclusion. However, threads may just want to synchronize, right? So there's difference, right? You may not always want mutual exclusion, but you may just want to synchronize. Okay, so locks are not the only primitive to build concurrent execution, and we can so there are many cases where thread wishes to check whether a condition is true before continuing its execution. Okay, so thread may wait on a condition and then continue. If the condition is not met, it will block. otherwise it will continue. Okay, so for example in join call, so where simplest join call, wherein a parent thread waits for child thread to complete, or parent process waits for child process to complete or die, and then it can continue from there. Now, okay, so now we understand the join call or any other construct of similar kind must implement wait for certain event to happen, or wait for certain conditions to met, and then on it can continue. If the conditions are not met, the process or thread will wait. Okay, so there's the theory, right? Okay, so if you try to implement wait, wherein parent is waiting for his child to finish, and then code, very simple code will look something like this, that parent, okay, here the main code starts, or parent starts, it will print parent begin. Okay, so this is first thing we would like the process to begin. Then it will create a thread, okay, using pre-thread create primitive or call, and then a child is created. So this is a child, the code corresponding to child thread. Okay, all right. So now child will do nothing but print, and then somehow it has got to have some primitive or something, something which will indicate to parent that I am done. Okay, it means all right. So now parent has to wait here for child to complete. Okay, so now what we are doing here, here parent has to do something to wait until child completes. If you want execution in this order, first parent will start execution, then child execution has to be over, and then parent will continue. It means that first it will print parent begin, this one here, and then it will wait for child to complete because child is forked here, and then child will execute this. Okay, and when child is completing, then it has to indicate to parent that I am done. Okay, then parent can continue. So we have to implement this. So this is a command part we have to implement. Only then this will be the order. Okay, any question?
No, sir.
No, all right. Okay, so this is the one simple implementation that we have seen earlier also. It's called spin based, right? Busy waiting kind. Okay, so now what happens is that now once child is created by parent here, then it will check whether child is completed by a variable, global variable, done is equal to 0. Okay, now it means that while this value of done is 0, that will do busy waiting or spin waiting, right? It will keep spinning. Okay, and then the child, when if the child is here, let's assume the child at this point in time child is created and child gets execution, execution slot. So child will print child, and then done is equal to 1. Okay, now this is a signal. Now, all right. So now when it means it changes the global variable done is equal to 1 and returns null, it means that now is over. So now this value, when the next time when parent is scheduled in it gets CPU, this condition is met, done is equal to now done is not equal to 0. So it will come out of spin loop, and then it will print parent and then end, right? Parent end, it will print this. So now by very simple mechanism of a global variable, Okay, we have changed the value, the value of that is changed by child. Okay, and that informs parent. Now you come out of spin. Okay, now you can continue. So parent will continue to wait until child changes the value of this global variable to 1. So this very simple way to implement, when we want, parent must wait for child to complete. So only thing that I want to emphasize here is that this method is inefficient because it requires spin waiting. Okay, so parent spins and wastes a lot of CPU time. So is there a way for parent to sleep until condition comes to true? All right. Okay, let's take one simple example. Suppose you and your friend, or let's assume you are at home and there is one washroom or maybe bathroom where you want to take bath. Okay, and you and your brother both want to use the bathroom, right? Okay, so whoever is first in front of the door of bathroom can use that, will go inside it, right? Now what option do you have? Okay, the option is that you keep standing there until your brother completes the bath and comes out. So this is what we call it spin waiting. But normal process is that the normal way what we do is that you will do whatever you have been doing. Okay, you will not wait there, and whenever your brother completes bath, will tell you that I'm done. Then you can go to the bathroom. However, that's the only thing required for you is to take bath. Then you can go to sleep. Okay, and then your brother informs you that I am done. Now you can take bath. So you can now occupy. So you are not unnecessarily standing in front of bathroom. That's the solution we can have when instead of child, the parent waiting for child, parent can go to sleep. When we say parent is going to sleep, it means that now the CPU can be given to any other thread. It's not wasting CPU time, right? And then when child is scheduled again and so on, when it final completes, it will signal I am done. Now this will wake up the parent, and then parent can then take up the slot. Okay, parent will be scheduled again. Now enter the critical section. Okay, are you able to understand it? What is the concept? So there is a concept of wait and signal here, or sleep and signal. So the moment condition is not met, then the thread that's executing it will put itself into the sleep. Okay, and when the condition becomes favorable, it means that there's some other thread which was occupying a critical section or doing something changes the condition, then that thread will signal the sleeping thread to wake up. All right, so let's try to understand this concept. So now thread can make of condition variable and wait for condition. So okay, to wait for condition to become true, it means that if condition is not true, the thread will wait on this condition variable. Now this condition variable actually is a name of a queue in some sense, right? It's a queue. Okay, so condition variable is an explicit queue associated with that variable. So a thread is put into this queue when some state of execution is not as desired. Okay, like you are waiting in front of, you see that somebody has occupied bathroom, then that's not favorable condition, then you go to the sleep. Okay, so it's waiting on a condition. Okay, what is the condition? That condition, the bathroom is full, so you are sleeping on that. So another thread, when it changes its state, can wake up one or more waiting threads. So when bathroom becomes free, it will explicitly signal waiting thread or waiting threads depending on implementation. So in you and your brother's case, is just he will tell you if there are multiple family members are also waiting, that will signal may if that's a protocol, it may signal all. Okay, that I'm done. Now there is a contention again, and then maybe the one who is home scheduler, or maybe your father is the boss, then your father says that, okay, I'm putting you in front of door first, then you will go. The scheduler can put whatever processes which are ready, which have signal, then the one who's lucky will get. If there are only two people, then a second person will get explicit notification and can go. All right, any question? So real life example we have already taken. You can think of many such examples, right? All right, so now let's look at primitives. Now when we say conditional variable, we have to define it. Now pthread library defines this is type. Okay, you are basically telling that C is of type pthread condition T, count T, right? It means that now system knows that C is a conditional variable, and when program comes to execution corresponding to C, there will be a queue form, and then the process of putting the process that's running some other primitive into the queue and removing it from the queue or signaling it from the queue, all these mechanisms will come into life. Okay, so C is a conditional variable. Okay, now we have to define operations like wait and signal. Wait call is executed when thread wishes itself to sleep. Note it's a different from yielding. Okay, we in last class we have said we have improved the initial solution of busy waiting. Okay, by thread that is blocked will yield. It means that now it gives it totally. Okay, and it comes to a ready queue and it can be scheduled. But here there is a explicit queue with the condition, and then when the process or thread executes wait, that thread is put into the queue. Okay, all right. Signal is some other thread will signal it, and when it's executed, it changed something in the program. It means that it's doing something, and then condition is to be changed, and because of that wants to wake up a sleeping thread on that condition. So the condition is changed, okay, or something is changed, and then that thread may want to wake up a sleeping thread. Okay, so simple, right? So now when thread doesn't find something favorable or some condition, then it will sleep on the condition, and when the condition is and the other thread completes that task, will signal the sleeping thread to wake up. Okay, so two calls are shown here: pthread con wait, or pthread condition wait, and then there are two parameters are given here. First is, of course, it will wait on what? It will wait on a condition variable. So with this condition variable C, a queue is formed. Okay, and there is one mutex is also there. Now we'll see the role of mutex little later. Okay, it's not replacing the role of mutex as we have seen in earlier case. Okay, it's just to protect some scenarios, right? Or we use mutex only for a very small period. And then second is pthread condition signal, and where is I mean it's just opposite process, right? I mean the thread that runs it wakes up one of the sleeping threads, right? Suppose this is sleeping, it will wake this up. Now who does this? Although these are user can use these primitives, all this putting the thread to a queue and removing it from queue, etc., is a role of operating system or kernel. Any question? Okay, all right. So wait, now we can look at wait in detail. Wait call takes mutex as a parameter, one parameter, other is of course condition variable C. Okay. So now what happens is then mutex is logged when wait is called. We'll see why. When a thread is calling wait, it will put a mutex that only one thread at a time can call this wait. Okay. Now, all right. So this is to protect certain conditions. We'll see that. Okay. And then wait releases a lock. Okay. And put itself to sleep. Okay. All right. And then the sleeping thread wakes up after some other thread signals it, and it must require lock before returning the caller. So we'll look at this. Now lock and unlock are required to avoid certain race conditions when a thread is trying to put itself to sleep. So let's look at the example and then it will become clear. So basically there are two operations, wait and signal. When thread executes wait, it will put itself into sleep, and when it's woken up only when some other thread signals it to wake up. Okay, and wait and signal primitives or operations are executed with the help of mutex, okay, to avoid race conditions. So let's look at this example. Okay, how does it look like? It's simple. Okay, don't, again, we are not going to get into details. If you want details, then you'll have to read pthread, all these calls that are there in detail. Okay, so for example, there is a pthread in mutex initializer and pthread condition initializer, which is nothing but a macro. Is a macro call. It will do certain things, right? It will create for example, a condition variable and initialize it. So for example, we say mutex is to be created, that we init using init, etc. Similarly, condition variable has to be created and then initialized. So this is a macro, and you understand macro, right? So macro is kind of a set of instructions that are to be executed. So let's not get into it, but it note that it will create a mutex and initialize it. Similarly, it will create a conditional variable and initialize it. Okay, so that's the purpose. And then we have global variable done, which is equal to 0. Okay, now let's look at the first main program. So main program first prints begin. Okay, so it will print parent begin. Okay, and then it will create a child thread. Okay, we'll have to define that. P is a variable of type pthread t. So now this p, once we executed pthread create, with these arguments, here P will get some variable, some P, thread ID. Anyway, it doesn't matter, right? So it will now create a child. Okay, so now child is here. It's very simple. Child will print child, and then it will call a routine call thread exit. Okay, all right. And then this thread exit will do what it will do. It will change the value of done is equal to 1. Okay, and this thing will put inside a lock, this lock, right, mutex lock, such that there is no race condition. All right, so don't worry about it, we'll come to that later. And now when it is child is done, it will use this call pthread condition signal, and it will signal on condition q, which is with associated with c. Okay, if the parent is sleeping, then we'll wake it up. All right, and then parent will execute thread join, and thread join what will do, it will if, or we read while as if for a moment. So if done is 0, okay, it means that now if child is not completed, done is 0 when child is not completed, then it'll put itself into sleep on this condition variable. All right, okay, so now let's execute it. Okay, so I'm not running this program, but I will just will see what happens, right? So there are, so we read this first. Okay, parent creates child thread, parent thread waits for child to complete. That's what we want. Okay, because we want to implement kind of wait. Okay, and then parent thread puts itself into sleep using condition variable c. On completion, the child thread signals the sleeping parent with condition variable c. So there are two cases. First case is when the thread, first is that parent creates a child thread and continues running. Okay, and then calls thread join to wait for child to complete. Okay, all right, so basically let's assume that the first child parent thread continues and then child gets a time. Okay, once parent blocks itself, only then child will run. So it's something like this. So first case is that, because schedule case is based on how scheduler schedules the whole thing. The parent starts running. Okay, it will print this statement parent whatever, parent begin, and then it will create a child creation will happen. Okay, and let's assume it continues, scheduler still it has time to continue, and then it will run this one thread join. Okay, so this is this routine it will run. Thread join is here. It will check. Now mutex it will use, of course, this becomes critical section. So now mutex, sorry, then done is equal to 0 right now, right? Because child has still, the initial condition was 0 and only child is changing it to 1. So now it's still 0. So now it will put itself into sleep using wait call, right? So it will sleep on variable c, condition variable c. So this thread set t1 will come into sleep. That's fine. Now now it's sleeping. Now child will get time. We schedule child sometime or other. Child thread. So now child comes into play. Child will print. First parent has printed something, right? Parent and parent begin. Now child prints a child, and now child. Okay. Now it runs thread exit. Okay, so thread exit is this routine here. It will change the done to 1. So done is equal to 1. Okay, and then it will signal using this one to this queue. Okay, so now this thread will become, will wake up, right? It means an OS will put this into a ready queue. Okay, and now when this is scheduled, okay, then it will continue running from here. Now done has become 1. Okay, so it went into sleep here at this point in time. Okay, it became mean the thread was running this, and then here it went to sleep. Now condition changes to 1, so now it can execute this one. Oh, sorry, so this all will be done. It's not executed. It will come out of the routine. It means that now it will unlock the mutex and then print parent end. So now third thing that will be printed is parent end. Okay, is it clear? I mean, it looks little messy, but is it clear what exactly is happening?
Excuse me, sir.
Basically, parent is putting itself into sleep, and then child, when child gets a time, it completes. Then it will signal the parent, now wake up, and parent continues from there. That's it. The logic is.
Sir, parent will wake up only after signal. So, sir, why we are using done here?
Yeah. So basically, how will it see? It will signal what? So it will. Okay, your question I understand, right? So we have to use some. See, note that this is a condition variable here. Yeah, this is a basically name of a queue on which we put it. Okay, but there is to be, and when it has to put into queue. So this thing, wait, will execute only. There has to be some logic. What is that logic? By which thread will put itself into queue. And when we have signal, what do you mean by signal? Okay, now signal is to be executed based on certain condition. Okay, only then it will send a signal, right? So the logic when it will be sent, signal will be sent is coming from this global variable done. See, wait and signal simply says put the running thread into the queue and remove one of the threads from the queue. That's it. But what, under what condition it has to put into queue and when it's to be removed is coming from this logic. Is it okay? I mean, are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
So only see, condition variable is little misnomer in my opinion, right? So that's the reason you're confused with condition. You treating a done as a condition. Of course, it is a condition. Okay, but
Sir,
treat
so
this as a
instead
name.
of
Yeah.
sir, instead of while we can use if only. Like,
Yeah. So that's I will answer this, right? We'll answer this. This is just to avoid a corner case. Okay, so it's actually treat this as F at this moment. Okay, it's actually it's doing the role of F. If okay, all right. So now we have completed this. This was the first scenario when thread. First scenario was when parent moves ahead and gets itself blocked at certain place. It gets blocked here, and then child is executed and child signals. Okay, all right, so child signals using here, and then this thread again becomes main thread becomes woken up and then continues. That's a simple thing that we have studied, right? The second scenario is, as soon as child is created, first parent prints this parent begin. Okay. And as soon as child is created, child starts execution. Okay, so now control goes, the scheduler swaps this thread out, brings in the second thread. Okay, so child thread starts execution. So child will run, it will, okay, print child. Okay, and then it runs this exit routine. So exit routine says done is equal to 1. So done was 0, now done is equal to 1. And it threads this, then it sends a signal on conditional variable C. So this is a queue that is formed with conditional variable C. It sends a signal, release 1 sleeping thread, right? And now there is no sleeping thread because right now there are only 2 threads that are created. All right, that's all. So now what happens is that now this exits. Okay, after this exits, and the parent, now control comes back to the parent. Okay, so now it runs thread join and control comes here, and when this executes, then the done is already 1, right? Done, the value of done is 1. So now it does not run this condition wait, it does not put itself into sleep. Okay, because child has already executed, then it comes out of it and then prints. So thread then prints printf, whatever, parent end. Any question?
Sir, I did not understand one thing properly.
Mm-hmm.
We put the parent to sleep, right? When we
Mhm.
execute wait.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the need for checking the condition like while done is true? Because the parent won't go into the ready state till the child executes thread exit.
No, so where are we checking here, right? Done is equal to 0.
Yes, sir.
Treat this as f if child has not completed. So let's assume that if no, basically what are we doing? It means that done is equal to 0 means child has not completed the execution, right?
But if child has not completed execution, the parent will be in the sleep state.
Where are you putting into sleep? Here, by running this, you are putting the parent to queue.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Otherwise, you will not put. The second case that we studied says that don't put into the queue because child is done. So this done is using just to see whether child has completed or not. And role of this next statement is just to put parent process into sleep. But before that, when to put the parent thread into sleep is the logic is only through some condition, and that condition is that whether child has completed execution or not. If child has completed execution, then parent will not come into sleep and then continue. All right,
Yes, sir.
what I suggest is that when you get time, just try to hand execute it, right, in your mind. Okay, again, just don't see, basically these two pthread create and pthread signal is nothing but to put the thread that's running, let's say parent thread is running. So when parent execute this, it will be put into a queue that is given by name C. Okay, so it will put say thread T1. If this is this T1 is execution, that it will T1 into the sleep. Who will put T1 into sleep? The OS will put T1 into sleep. Now what? Okay, now what is the logic to put itself into sleep? Not every time it has to put into sleep. The logic comes from the statement before that, done. If child is already executed, then don't put into sleep. The child has completed execution, then put it yourself to sleep. So that logic comes from this done. Okay, by simple operation of putting itself to sleep and waking a sleeping thread does not solve the problem, right? There has to be certain logic around it, why, when to put and when to remove it. So that comes from so don't again, so condition variable is, instead of that, you treat this as just a name called CV, because when you read condition variable, you think this is a condition. No, this is the name of the queue, that's it. And where you will have to put based on some other condition. All right, and that is your program logic. When program logic say that when this condition is not met, then put the thread into sleep, and when the condition is met, then take the thread out of sleep, right? Wake it up, wake the thread up. Okay, just think it, you will get the logic. Okay, now question is that why we do loop while instead of if. Like the way while and if are implemented, they have found out that if implementation is better in these scenarios, because there are some corner cases they have found, and they say if is used, then those corner cases may result into wrong results. So it's just a practice. So while will work as if conditions are met or not met. It is just single execution of single loop execution of while is same as if. Okay, and then why do we lock? We use mutex, right? So some race conditions can happen. Say for example, okay. All right. So here is one example. It's called missed wake up. Okay. So parent checks the value of done is equal to 0. Here, right? Parent checks the value of done is equal to 0. Okay, and at this point is preempted. It's context switched. Now the child runs. Now child will it will set done is equal to 1. Okay, so it will set done is equal to 1, and all right, and then it will run this one, and now says no thread is sleeping, no one gets woken up. Oh, because this thread was not, it has not even executed this statement, so it will not be woken up. And then now controls comes here. So parent starts execution, it has already checked the value of done is equal to 0, so it will put itself into sleep onto this queue, and this will continue to sleep forever because the child has done its role of waking it up, and parent was still not sleeping. Then the parent will continue to sleep, so that's not desirable condition. Like your brother has gone to bathroom and you have not told him that I am sleeping, and you are waiting for your brother to inform you that wake me up, and and in fact he has sent a signal to wake you up, but you were not sleeping, so you will not wake it up. And when you go to sleep afterwards, you will continue to sleep forever because you think that your brother will come and wake you up. Okay, all right. Okay. Now let's solve what we have discussed is a very trivial thing. And now let's solve a producer consumer problem. A producer consumer problem is very common problem in computer science, and then you know, like we can solve this using many methods, and now we are trying to solve it with condition variable CV. Okay, it's a bounded buffer. Number of slots in a buffer is fixed. Okay, certain number. Okay, and we can say it's say max something. Okay, there's a maximum number of slots in the buffer, right? And producer is going to put items into it, and consumer is going to consume. So it will take the things out. Okay, all right. This is very simple problem. Now, what is the important thing here? The producer cannot put items into this buffer if buffer is full. Okay, and consumer cannot consume anything from it if buffer is empty. Okay, and when buffer is full, then this producer has to wait until consumer consumes something. So when consumer consumes something, then it will signal the producer that I have consumed something, now you can put. Similarly, when buffer is empty, okay, then producer will inform consumer that I have put something, now you can consume. Okay, so with this logic we can create a program. Okay, all right, so this same thing that we have discussed. So bounded buffer is a shared resource, so we must synchronize access to it. Okay, and producer can put data into buffer only if it's available slot, and consumer can take data only if it's not empty. It's fine, these things we have already studied. Now look at the code. All right, what are we doing here? It's not a full code, and in fact there is some put and get, putting something into buffer and removing it, and all the initializations are given here in the second slide, which I am not discussing now as we don't have time. We are just trying to look at the logic, and syntax you can do by yourself. In fact, you can create a program, run this program, right? Okay, so now first is producer. Producer will continue to produce items, right? And this is, so we are running a loop, so we say loops is the maximum number of items it can produce, or whatever. It's some number that you define as a some variable, global variable or something like that. Okay, and then it of course use of lock is what we have studied earlier, so we'll not get into lock and unlock now. Okay, so while, now note that you can read this as if count is equal to max. Okay, checking if, what is checking if the buffer is full, that's it, right? If buffer is full, if the buffer is full, then put itself into sleep on a condition variable called empty. Okay, so there is a queue called empty, it will put itself into sleep here. Okay, and all right, if it is not, it means that slots are available, then put the item there. So if it is a free, then put the item there. Okay, and then it conditions, it send a signal to a condition variable called fill. So there are two conditional variables, empty and fill. It will send a signal that if someone is sleeping, then wake the person up. Okay, so consumer is a similar process. It will run into loop, and then if count is equal to 0, it means that buffer is empty, then it cannot consume anything, right? Then put itself into condition variable called fill. So it will put itself into the condition variable. So first slot of this queue. Okay. All right. And all right, if it is okay, if it is non-zero, then it will get okay. So if it basically it will get the item, sorry, from here, it means the buffer is non-full, it will get the item. Okay, and then it will signal to empty. Okay, it means that it will now, it says that my slot is available. Now you can, if you can fill it if required. So the logic is quite simple, right? So okay, so there are two condition variables, empty and fill, that we have seen. It means that when these are declared, two queues are formed. First is empty and second is fill. Okay, and producer, okay, so with the producer thread checks the buffer is full, then it puts itself into empty condition variable queue. Okay, okay, so note that this is a queue, this also is a queue. Okay, when it means that when buffer is full, then it can't produce, it can't put anything, it will put into itself in the queue. And when okay, and when okay, buffer, and then other condition is that when it is not full, then it will put item there. Okay, it will put item there and then signal that something has been put. Okay, so it will signal onto different queue, that is the fill queue. So it means that now it has put something, and if the some thread was waiting, then it will wake it up to consume it. And this is simpler, very simple, right? So say same, similar. Okay, so logic is that we can use two condition variable, and when buffer is full, then producer will put itself into sleep. Okay, and when consumer consumes anything, it means slot becomes available, it will inform sleeping thread to wake up, right, by signaling on the condition, the corresponding condition variable. Okay, all right, condition variable corresponding to empty, and same thing will happen, you know, while consumer is consuming, it will signal, and when producer puts something onto the buffer, then it will also signal the other queue, which is fill queue. All right, is it okay? Is it logic is clear? Okay, is it, are you able to understand the logic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you just create two queues, just think in this term, just create two queues. If buffer is full, then producer will put itself into queue. Okay, otherwise it will put the item in the queue, sorry, into buffer, and then signal that now item has put into the buffer, and then a thread, if thread is waiting, it means that if buffer was full and thread was, or buffer was empty, and then the thread was waiting for item, then now it will inform that now item has been put into buffer and you can consume it. Okay, and similarly a reverse process is that when consumer okay wants to read something or take something from buffer, and buffer is empty, then it will put itself into sleep. Okay, and if buffer is non-empty, then it will take the item from buffer and then inform the producer that it has taken something. Now one slot has become free. So there's the logic, and you can write program based on this. Now, only advantage of condition variable over other process is that we are using explicit use of signaling and putting some item or a thread into a queue or into sleep state. Queue is corresponding to sleep state. Okay. Any question? Please go through this chapter by yourself. If you couldn't understand the concept, it will become absolutely crystal clear to you. Okay. All right. Any question? All right then. Thank you.